views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Are you ready?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Now broadcasting live from the After Hours AM studio, Joel Sturgis and Eric Olson.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this edition of After Hours AM. I'm your host, as always, and with me is
Eric Olson.
And tonight, guys, we have something really cool on tap. We are talking to James Picard, the artist, world-renowned, world-famous James Picard, and he does something really cool. He mingles paranormal in with art. And I find that really neat, really fascinating. And he goes these different locations like Alcatraz and these super creepy joints and gets his inspiration. You're going to want to hear him at the bottom of the hour. But, man, I'll tell you what, Eric, it has been one of those really long days. And thank God I am on the air with you and enjoying all of our beautiful listeners. This is the best time of the day right here.
By golly, you are right, Joel. It has been another super crazy go nuts day. And I don't know about your weather up there in Minnesota where I guess it's cold
No, it's 65 degrees and sunny.
Oh, well, that's good because that means it's headed our way because we had snow last night.
You know, we had that a couple days ago. We must have had an inch or two anyway. And I mean, it was just enough to make things miserable and crappy out there and make you go, Mother Nature, I don't like you anymore. But, you know,
we put away the winter coats already because, you know, we're optimistic. So opening up that closet, the winter coat closet once again and busting them out, it was painful.
Isn't it so demoralizing when
it
you
was,
put them
but then
away?
I say to myself, it is April.
Yes.
And April
Unpredictable.
is the cruelest month.
It really is. You know, whoever said April showers brings May flowers is the biggest liar I ever heard.
Yeah, because April snows kills them dead.
Bang, done, dead. Oh, man, no, but our weather is straightening out, and I do have to give a big shout-out to the Minnesota Wild players who said they're going to be listening tonight because they are in the playoffs.
Yeah, don't they play? What's that game? I can't remember. Something about ice. And
Yeah. It's hockey. It's
that flat ball.
It's the beautiful sport of hockey.
Ah, yes, hockey.
Hockey. And this is hockey country up here, my friend.
I know, you're near Canada.
We are so close to Canada, we can hear them sharpening their skates. That's how close we are to Canada.
And drinking their Labatt's.
That's right. Well, Molson these days.
Is it Molson?
It's Molson. Molson is what they're drinking these days. But yes, Labatt's Blue, great beer. Molson, good beer. Oh, man, but...
Canadian beer.
Well, exactly. Nothing wrong with Canadian beer. We love Canadians, don't we, Eric?
Well, heck yes. And in fact, James Picard is Canadian.
I was just about to say that. He's actually coming to us live from Vancouver, British Columbia.
I know you're going to find this hard to believe because everyone knows I am an American. and I'm as Americans get, other than the Americans who are more American than I am, but they don't count.
Who would those be? The Native Americans?
Maybe those guys. Yeah,
Gosh,
or the ones who walked across the land bridge.
You know what you just did there, whether you knew it or not. You made a whole group of people angry.
No, who, the Americans or the Canadians?
Well, one of each, I suppose, is right now. I bet you if you listen real hard, if you came up to where I am, you could hear, "Damn that Eric Olson. Damn him, and we are going to bludgeon him with this skate. Damn him."
Fists are being shaken. You can see the fists from across the border.
Yes, but they're small fists, so you don't have to worry about it.
Oddly enough, you need a passport for now. Now, whose idea was that?
I don't know. And you can get your enhanced driver's license so you can cross between the border of Canada and the States without being harassed so much. I got a story about that, though. Years ago.
Whip it on me.
When I was going up to Canada, and, well, I got two stories, but this is the nice story I'm telling you. I'm not going to tell you about why I got kicked out of the country. But I was going to Canada, and the guy in front of me, he was, I'll never forget this, in an F-150 truck, hauling one of those campers, you sleep in, the pull-behind camper, had the kids, and they're all jumping around and doing their thing. They're obviously on vacation, and I'm going to go fishing up in Canada. And so, I'm from Minnesota, so the drive to Canada is like my backyard, so it's not a big deal, so big deal.
You fall over and you're there.
Exactly. I sneeze hard enough and they get my phlegm. But anyhow, I know it's not
American phlegm.
Exactly. Take that. This is wonderful American phlegm. You're going to love it. Yeah, don't you just taste the freedom? Well, anyhow, I'm sitting
red,
there.
white, and
yeah, exactly. Not exactly. I'm waiting in line, minding my own business, jamming out the Pearl Jam back in those days. Remember Pearl Jam? They were good.
Of course.
Yeah, So I'm jamming out the Pearl Jam, and next thing you know, that's the F-150's turn to go through the border check, which I didn't think that there would be a problem. But next thing you know, the wife's out of the car, he's out of the car, the kids are out of the car. They have them all sitting on the curb, right? And they wave him around. They wave the truck around. They actually have a border agent drive this truck around, right? And so I go on my merry way, and I'm getting through the checkout. But what I did is I stopped. I pulled over after I was in Canada to watch what was going to go down. They tore this guy's F-150 and his pull-behind camper down to nothing. Nothing. It was like wheels and nuts and bolts, man. There was really nothing left of this vehicle or this camper.
It was like Meet the Millers, or We're the Millers.
And the reason why they pulled him over was he had one too many Canadian beers, or American beers, coming over the border. He had over, I think at that time, it was a case of beer. I think he must have bought the 30-pack or something, because they were a little angry with him, and that is why they pulled him over after they searched his vehicle as far as tearing everything apart. Well, hell, if he's got extra beer, he's got pot. You just know he's got pot. Look at him. He's all shifty with those kids.
Wow.
So they rip apart his whole entire vehicle right down to, like I said, the bolts, okay? I'm watching this, and they're fast. These Border Patrol people must have been mechanics in a former job, because they work fast. I mean, they had quarter panels off. They had tires off. They had, you name it. It was sitting there pretty much on blocks, a skeleton of a vehicle. Okay, they get through this all, and they find nothing on this guy. Okay, nothing, not a thing. And they basically hand him the keys to his vehicle and said, well, we're sorry, sir, we didn't find anything. It's up to you to put back together your belongings.
Oh, my God!
Yeah, it's up to you now that we ripped it apart and destroyed it, and now this is all just, everything that you own is shambles. Everybody saw your wife's underwear and everything else strewn across Canada. It is now up to you to put back together your own vehicle and drive
after we pit crewed you.
After we pit crewed you. After we Days of Thundered you. That's right. Tom Cruised your ass.
Wow.
Now you are stuck having to put together your truck.
That just doesn't seem fair.
It's not fair. And so the guy, of course, what could he do? Started picking up his what he had left of belongings. And after this is all done, I stopped, and there was basically it's a duty-free store once you cross the border. no tax or anything.
Sure.
So I was in there getting my beer and stuff like that for fishing because I knew better than to bring beer with me. That is one thing that when you go across these borders, they look for. They look for things like beer and cigarettes and things like that. If you're going to buy those vice-type items, it's much better to do that in their country.
It would appear so.
Because once you're crossed, you can do whatever you want. Hey, look at that, I'm in Canada. Good to go.
I'm in Canada.
What you gonna do? That's right. I can play broomball, curling, and hockey now. Yes, and I love Rocky and Bullwinkle. Oh wait a minute, that was Fergus Falls in Minnesota. Never mind, or Frostbite Falls. They're from Minnesota. Sorry, I don't know why I say Rocky and Bullwinkle. I was thinking of what was that Mountie name on that cartoon?
Dudley Do-Right, of course.
Yes, Dudley Do-Right. I am in your territory now.
Now I have a story for you.
Okay, I'm all yours.
I played Dudley Do-Right in a play in junior high.
No, did you really?
Yes, and you know why? There were two reasons. I had the chin.
Okay.
I'm in possession of a butt chin. It is true.
Cleft chin, yes.
Cleft chin, prominent cleft chin. Plus, I had watched that cartoon. It really was one of my favorites. Loved it. And I had the voice down. Oh, Nell, what is wrong with you? Let us go forth and catch.
Let us go forth and catch that evil. Who was his villain? Snidely Whiplash.
Snidely Whiplash.
Well, you did that perfect.
Thanks.
Man, if anyone's listening that's putting together a play with Dudley Do-Right in it, get a hold of Eric at afterhoursam.com. He'll be happy to show up.
And I got the chin to go along with it.
Did you ever cross any borders?
I have crossed borders. I've crossed many a border. I'm an international traveler. Nothing like my father, though. Check this out. My dad, of course, he's older than I am, but he had done a lot of the traveling during his working career, which, of course, he's been retired close to 20 years now.
Sure.
My dad's been to about 100 countries around the world. And every continent, including Antarctica.
Oh, wow. I knew a guy that worked there in that science expedition thing, the Antarctic thing. He went crazy.
Well, what do you expect? The Thing might get you, if nothing else.
Oh, that was a great movie, too. That's the single reason why I never wanted to go up there, because when I was a young guy and he was being recruited to go, they actually looked at me and they said, hey, do you want to maybe go and do this with me? And I said, hell no, not a chance in hell.
I've seen The Thing.
No, I saw The Thing. I'm good. You can go get eaten by a space alien, discover the craft, do whatever it is that you need to do, maybe even get anal probed. I don't know what's going to happen to you, but it ain't going to happen to me.
You never know when you cross borders.
He never walked the same once he got back. So I'm just saying there might have been that whole probing thing going on. I'm not sure. And allegedly he was probed.
Yeah, you don't want to cast any aspersion.
No, I don't want to make it sound any worse. But once you're in Canada, though, getting back to that, they're some of the nicest people you're going to meet, though, and that's no lie.
Oh, I love Canadians. And what I was going to say way back when I was saying that I'm an American who's more American than other Americans who are less American than I am.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
The point of all that was I was at one point intimate with a Canadian.
No.
Yes.
Oh, my Lord. That's an international incident.
I know. I didn't know she was Canadian.
Oh, you didn't? Now you're saying I didn't know she was Canadian. That would have made it just a little more hotter, in my opinion.
I knew after the fact she was Canadian because she told me. But she had gotten rid of that accent. And even more interesting, she had a twin.
No less.
Her twin had remained Canadian while she had become... I don't remember what her exact status was, but she, I don't know if she was a citizen yet. I think maybe she had dual citizenship by then. She went to UCLA. That was how I knew her. I used to DJ at UCLA, at USC, and all the other universities of Southern California.
I could only see debauchery happening.
Oh, my God. Debauchery as cannot be imagined in this decade. As only the 80s could conjure.
Oh, yes, the 80s. Hey, have you ever seen that thing on YouTube? I know it's old now, called Yacht Rock.
No, I think I've heard of it.
You need to check that out because I think
Yacht
that you
rock.
might be able to relate to yacht rock. Basically, it's a parody like on Hall & Oates, Kenny Loggins, making fun of it. Because back in the day, they had a fleet of artists on like a record label, and I forget their record label. They called it yacht rock because they're such big hits. There's such big ships out there, basically. They're yacht rock.
Got it.
And so go check out Yacht Rock. I know it's old. It's probably about 10 years old now, but it's worth watching if you just want to laugh because it has everything from Michael Jackson getting killed by Eddie Van Halen to Hall & Oates getting in a fight with Kenny Loggins, a comb fight. You got to see this thing. Just go check it out, man. I think that you would really enjoy that.
Have you ever seen Hall & Oates live?
No, I don't think I'm old enough.
All right, well, they're still out there beating the bushes. They really are exceptional. And I haven't seen them for a while either, I have to admit. And probably the last time I saw them was the 80s. But in the 70s, I actually booked them at my college. I was the concert booker for a couple of years at Wittenberg University. So we had them come down there. Anyway, my point is this. They're really great live and lots of fun. But they are so funny to see because literally Hall is a foot taller than Oates.
Really? So, Hall has always been the front man, though. Oates has been in the back. Or do I have that mixed around?
No, you're right. Daryl Hall is the main singer. He's got that high, powerful.
Yes. He's kind of like a Peter Cetera in that way.
Well, but he's a little more soulful than Peter.
Yeah. Well,
he's blue-eyed soul. I mean, he's
listen to you call him blue-eyed soul and everything.
I have heard many times it said of Daryl Hall.
So, did you ever have Hall & Oates played in the old cassette deck while you're in the back seat?
I love Hall & Oates.
When you're in the back seat trying to woo a lady.
Absolutely, and that early period, which is where a lot of the more the ballads, like "She's Gone" and "Sarah Smile" and whatnot, that was early on, early '70s, early to mid '70s, and they were amazing. I mean, they really were. They were Philly blue-eyed soul. By the time you got to the '80s, which is when they had their huge, massive hits, they kind of were renewed by a lot of technology. They went to all the electronic beats and whatnot. I'm talking about Maneater and all that stuff in the 80s. And that was a different sound. It was still good. But in their early days, man, they were the real McCoy. They could have been on Philadelphia International, one of the real, genuine, legit Philly soul labels. Sure. Anyway, they were great. They were funny. Hilarious to see with this difference, height difference. It just looks so funny.
See, now, for me, though, not to cut you off, my backseat band, if you will, in my day was Def Leppard back in the 90s.
Really?
Was the band. You had Love Bites, you had this. I mean, they were the band, but I saw them live one time, and I could never get over the one-armed drummer. I'm sitting there.
You gotta admire him.
I'm sitting there watching this man feverishly trying to keep up with the songs with one arm. It's so
amazing, really.
I missed.
He kind of transferred. I'm not a drummer. I mean, I can kind of drum a little, but I'm definitely not a drummer. But I can at least understand the basics of it.
Well, so
he transferred the other arm, the second arm, what he would be doing with his second arm, to his foot, his other foot.
But it's so weird to watch. It's so weird to watch because people are like, oh my God, did you hear them play Pour Some Sugar on Me and all this great... No, I was concentrating on the one-arm man. I couldn't believe he was so fast. I had no idea.
Remarkable. I mean, think about it. And because it's one thing if he had learned that way, right? From the beginning. But no, he was a regular drummer, drummed like everyone else did, obviously achieved this extremely high level of success, and then he had the terrible accident, I think it was a car accident, and lost the arm, and he had to learn all over
again. Dude,
I really admire.
I was waiting for Harrison Ford to bust out and say, look, it was the one-armed man. Anyhow, the fugitive. I know, I'm dating myself now.
Okay, they... really had, I mean, if you're going to talk about arena rock, they're about the best. I love the harmonies. I love the production, obviously really, really heavily produced on those albums. And that is hard to reproduce live. All those layers and layers and layers and layers of harmonies and guitars. But man, their songwriting was good, and that the best of their stuff, it holds up. Pyromania, great album.
Very good album, great band, but back in the day, much like your Hall & Oates, that was the sound of my generation. For the backseat
there's
activity.
Nothing wrong with that. Every generation needs their own, with whom they can identify.
But it was just weird because I waited forever to see Def Leppard in concert, and I even had the T-shirt on, the whole bit. But all I could concentrate on again was the one-armed man feverishly trying to keep up.
They should keep it behind a curtain. It's distracting.
To be honest, I felt bad for the man. I'm like, oh my God, look at him go. I mean, he just is pouring sweat. Just, he kind of resembles a fish flopping around back there. I was kind of a little bit, I was kind of embarrassed for him.
And doesn't he he only wears shorts, right?
That's
doesn't he
it.
Wear shorts
That's it. His legs are going like crazy. It looks like he's running a marathon. One arm flopping around. Dude, it's a sight to behold. If you ever get a chance to see Def Leppard in concert, divert your eyes from the one-armed man. He will ruin the show. He won't mean to, but you'll just be in awe of the speed.
It's not his fault.
No, you'll be in awe of the speed of the one arm. I mean, it's kind of like Speedy Gonzalez with one arm. I couldn't believe it, man. I could not believe it.
It is a remarkable feat. It really is. Dead seriously, the fact that he was able to retrain himself and that he had that willpower and that determination and skill, for that matter, to literally have to relearn how to play at that level. Because it's not like he was going to go and start playing garages.
Well,
again,
no,
right?
I don't think he'd be going anywhere else other than Def Leppard.
No, I mean,
because,
they do touring worldwide, doing major arenas, as a one-armed drummer. So my hat is off. Hey, you know what? We're probably not going to do a whole lot of today.
Yeah, I know news. I was just about to say that. Should we do a feeble attempt at the news at least?
Sure, we'll squeeze out a couple here because I got one that is really troubling me. In fact, it's the top here, other than, of course, on the Twitter feed, other than, of course, talking about tonight's show, needless to say. But right below that, and if you would like to play along at home, just go to @AM Haunted. That's America's Most Haunted Twitter. And check this out. There is a new virtual reality game in development. So using all this new technology that they've been working out lately. And they're developing a game called Project Elysium. And that game, the whole point of the game is to interact on a virtual reality level. So to a certain extent anyway, it feels real with your dead relatives.
You do realize that they're going to somehow implement this into a porn application. You do see this coming down the pipe, right?
Oh my God. Well, that or, of course, what's going to happen is the game will actually become haunted by the real spirits of the departed.
Yeah.
And oh my God, will all hell break loose. It may end the world.
You know that one guy from Def Leppard with the one arm? He'll be happy then because no one will think he's a freak anymore. I mean, not that he's a freak. Sorry.
No.
I mean, I'm in awe of the man. Sorry. That was wrong of me to say. I do apologize, Def Leppard. Don't pour any sugar on me. I'm good.
So think about this. It's the old, what could possibly go wrong?
Gee, I wonder.
You are uploading, apparently the way it works is you're going to upload, kind of all the information that you can. It's kind of a precursor to what's supposed to be happening down the line here when we get enough computing power that we will literally upload ourselves online and in theory live forever. So this is kind of a precursor to that. So we're uploading anything and everything we can about our dear departed. Now tell me that does not scream horror movie.
That is a horror movie.
The world.
You know what kind of reminds me of? Remember the old flick Lawnmower Man, in a way?
Yes.
So I mean, we're not that far with the virtual reality. Next thing you know, you're going to have a psychopathic killer inside your system. We're all done for.
Or Scooby Doo and the
Oh,
online.
Reggie.
Remember
Yeah.
when that
Oh,
whatever
yes.
that thing was called? It was running around inside the computer and killing everyone and being freaky and weird. And mean.
Yeah, that was not a good time there. Yeah. It was a scary time in life right there.
All right, I got another one. Check this out. This is bizarre. You're going to have to get the pictures, which is obviously what it's all about. You're going to have to either go to the Twitter feed at AM Haunted, or go to the original story, which is on Movie Pilot, which is really one of my favorite sites. But this is the first time I've seen. There's pictures that have been made available now, and basically they're just stills from actual film from this movie, which is not out yet.
And what's the movie called?
It may not ever be out, but it's called Return to Babylon. And what they did is they used stock. They used old stock and they used old equipment. And it apparently, this old film stock and this old equipment was literally haunted, because in the negatives from the film, there's all these freakish
I'm looking at this right now. There's a guy's contorted face.
Oh my
There's
God,
another
it's
specter.
very disturbing.
But any movie called Hercules versus Vampires is going to have ghosts.
Well, no. I haven't mentioned that one. This one's called Return to Babylon. So check it out. Return to Babylon. You can either get it through the Twitter feed to see the pictures
I'm looking
yourself.
at the pictures now, man. That is freaky as hell.
Aren't they really weird and
That is
disturbing?
disturbing.
And supposedly none of those pictures that are on that in that article, had anything to do with the film. They were none of those faces came from anything that they were filming. Now, backing up, the one you mentioned, that's a Mario Brava movie, Hercules versus Vampires.
I just like the title.
Oh, it's classic. And look at that poster, man. I'm telling you.
Oh my God, he was a hunk.
What is freakish about this and very odd, and I didn't really find why this particular movie from 1961 did they choose, but the LA Opera is performing the film score, which was written recently by Patrick Morganelli, wrote this operatic score to Hercules versus Vampires. And they're going to have a 26-piece orchestra and live singers from the LA Opera perform this along with the movie at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, which is pretty damn Tony.
That's
some
pretty
high-end
cool
stuff, man.
Yeah. But man, these pictures have got me hung up now. I'm looking at these things.
I'm telling you, that's why I jumped right to that one.
Dude.
I knew we were running out of time, but those pictures really bothered me.
That is actually scary. I mean, they're just weird. They're just, especially the guy in the bushes, man, just kind of.
What the hell is he doing?
I don't know. It looks like he's
Working in the
slapping at
bushes.
us. He's going, "Leave me alone. I only have one arm. Leave me alone."
And how about the face that you are seeing, kind of like two versions of it? It's like a Picasso.
And it looks like one's screaming in pain and one's, it's just weird. It's
what
weird.
it reminds me of? Not the face itself, but the dual imagery. Remember in the second Ghostbusters 2, where Vigo is in his death throes at the very end, and he's retreating back into the big painting. His face was doing that kind of dual, like this.
He was contorting his face, but my God, man, these weren't even meant to be taken. That's what's so freaky about them.
It's really weird. I mean, I think this is going to end up being. This is pretty new. Came out the article came out the 19th, and supposedly this is the first time that these pictures have been seen. I have not seen them before, but it would not surprise me, unless this turns out to be some sort of hoax, which of course you never know. But if it is not a hoax, I think these pictures, these images are going to turn out to be some of the most famous, haunting ghost images ever, because they're just so weird.
Well, think about all the paranormal that we've experienced in cinema. I mean, look at for instance, Poltergeist set. That was haunted.
Sure.
And then you had, of course, The Exorcist. That had a lot of hauntings attached to it.
Oh, almost every movie I have found, at least almost every interview I've ever done with a director or a star or, just the screenwriter,
Sure.
whomever, involved with a horror movie, they almost all think the set was haunted.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's always a story of a haunting on a set. We're going to have to get a guest that can give us the inside scoop on these hauntings.
Yeah, and you know what? How good a book would that make?
Oh, be a bestseller overnight, man. Overnight.
Should be.
Exactly. But we got to get out of here, man. We got to pay some bills.
I know.
When we come back, we got James Picard. I'm just in all these pictures I'm looking at, everybody. Go to the Twitter feed. Take a peek at these crazy pictures. We come back, artist James Picard, right after this.
Excuse me. Thousands of cancer patients can't afford a place to stay when the best treatment is far from home. A room shouldn't be the difference between life and death. Let's make sure that everyone who needs a room gets one. Let's make some noise. Let's help the American Cancer Society finish the fight.
Text ROOM to 41518 to donate $10.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If pop culture is to be believed, roughly 40% of all people are actually vampires, or dating one. Well, undead or not, you can always save on a clean, comfortable room at Motel 6, even if you sleep during the day because direct sunlight turns you into a pile of sparkly coffee grounds. Speaking of which, we have free coffee every morning. You day sleepers may want to go for the decaf. I'm Tom Bodette, and we'll leave the light on for you. Book online at motel6.com.
Hello, this is Joel Sturgis, one of your hosts of After Hours AM, and I'm here to tell you all about Planet Paranormal. Planet Paranormal is the place that you can hear every single After Hours AM podcast right from the very, very beginning. So tune in over at www.planetparanormal.com. That's right, planetparanormal.com. You'll be extremely glad you did.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer. Throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
I heard on the news about that 5-year-old who found his uncle's gun. The kid didn't know it was loaded.
I heard on the news about that 14-year-old girl who was bullied online. For like a year, she couldn't take it anymore, so she got her dad's gun from his nightstand.
I heard on the news about that guy who broke into someone's house, stole a gun from the hall closet.
He accidentally shot his cousin in the head.
She killed herself.
And later, killed the owner of the store he was trying to rob.
If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
Only in the forest can you see this. But nothing beats the moment you see that.
Cool!
That's your child's eyes opening up to a world of possibilities.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. And you might just see this. Visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Along with me, as always,
Eric Olson.
And tonight we have a great guest. We have James Picard, world famous James Picard. The artist is with us tonight. You know, I gotta say, I was looking at his art, Eric, and it is something else, man.
Well, it just seems, when I heard how he operates and his modus operandi, it just was like, I can't believe no one's done this before, because it just makes so much sense. If your art is derived from your spirit, from within yourself, from deep within, or even more so, if your art is something that you are channeling, in a sense, from the great beyond, whether, you know, whatever terminology you want to put on it, but you're channeling it. You are a conduit. If that is the case, then going to these locations that have all of this paranormal activity, have this lingering spirit energy, emotional energy, absorbing it, processing it, and turning it into art, it's genius. And then taking it a step farther and actually bringing the exhibit back to the original place that inspired the art, and having the public experience the art in that setting. I mean, it's amazing. I can imagine it can be an overwhelming experience.
I can only imagine. Yeah. James, well, first I want to officially welcome you to After Hours AM. Our pleasure.
Well, thanks kindly. Good to be here.
And I got to ask you right away, you know, I'm going to ask you the normal stuff right away, of course, like everybody else. What got you into this? Well, I read your bio, of course, and really got a feel for who you are. And first, I want to see your tremendous talent, first and foremost. But what?
Oh, thank you kindly.
What got you into this art? What got you into art, period? How'd you get your start?
Well, you know what? Well, okay, I've been painting my entire life. Like, as soon as I could hold a pencil, I was drawing. So it was sort of predestined in my world that I was going to be an artist. That's all I ever wanted to do. That's all I really cared about. And, of course, studying the master's, going to art school, you know, perfecting my craft, getting really good at what the 10,000 hour thing. I think I'm at about 100,000 hours now. So I've kind of got all that stuff under my belt. But for me, it was all about, once you've got the technical side down, it's about that human energy and tapping into it and really bringing art to life. That's what, that's my passion.
Sure. You know, because when I look at your examples of art, they are very, very lifelike. They're very vivid, very well detailed as well.
Yeah. I'm pretty confident. I can pretty much paint or draw anything. It's my life. It's my entire existence pretty much on the planet is creating. So,
well, I want everybody, while we're talking to James, to go on over to darkandwounded.com. And I want everyone to take a look at first I want you to read what's going on, but click on that gallery. That's really something else. That gallery gives you a good idea of the skill level of James and it just on how rich and every painting almost seems to take on, and it does, its own character. Take a peek.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
But so
how did you develop this specific show concept? The idea that we just were discussing, how you go about this and going to the locations and so on and so forth.
Okay, well, I'll wrap this up in it's kind of a long story, but I'll wrap it up in sort of a short, neat package. What happened was originally when I'm in the studio, I'm painting, doing my thing, and I'm having a conversation with a friend of mine. It's around Thanksgiving, and she's about to go to her parents, and she says, I hate going to my parents for Thanksgiving. I said, well, who doesn't? And she said, well, my father raped me, since I was a child.
Oh.
And I went, oh, my God, this is, intense. And I said, are you kidding? She goes, yeah, we don't talk about it. And then that led me into this whole thing about, what all the darkness that we hold as human beings inside. There's a lot that goes on. We pick up the newspaper and you look what's happening. And that sort of triggered something in me. I started thinking, we all have darkness within us, and we all have these wounds. And if we don't address these things, they just keep festering and getting worse. And so that's how the initial series started, was doing a portrait of someone and really not an exterior thing, but going deep inside and going, what is this darkness within? And that led into me sort of researching things on my own dark past and societal, darkness into historical aspects, and then incorporating this into the series.
No, exactly. But I'd also like to mention that in 2001, you went to New York City to assist in helping with children of the victims and the aftermath of September 11th. I want to tell you that's very admirable.
Well, it's something as a human being on the planet. This is part of it. I mean, I don't think of things as an us and them. It's an us. And when something like that occurs, that just hit, like everyone else, that hit me to the core. That was a huge, just an eye opener. And for me, I was just sickened by the whole thing, and I felt the need to, help in any way I could. And, working with some of the orphan kids and doing some artwork was a way I could do that. And painting is like, it's very therapeutic and helpful. So that's what I did.
I was just about to say that. Did you find that the painting, especially when you worked with these kids, and you've also worked with the Canadian Cancer Society, Columbia, yep, Children's Hospital, if I could speak.
Yeah.
Do you find, though, when you get a paintbrush into especially a child's hand, it's almost like it frees them for that short period of time where they don't have to worry about anything but what they're doing at that moment?
Exactly. That's exactly it. I mean, when you're painting and creating, if you've got cancer, all of a sudden, I've never had cancer, but people I know have had it. It weighs on your mind all the time, and it's something you carry with you every minute of the day. And to have a reprieve from that, I think is good not only for your body, but for your whole spirit in general.
I would definitely agree, and many people, they say painting is one, music is another. That does, it's the arts. It seems to be the arts that soothes us the most.
Completely, I would agree 100%. Yeah.
That is something, my friend, to be very proud of, and we're very proud of you for doing it.
Oh, well, thank you very kindly. Yeah, but I'm just doing what I think we all need to be doing is helping out. If we all do a little, we potentially change the world to make it a better place.
If we all did a little, you're absolutely correct. It would be changed. It would be a better place, and I think a lot of people can take guidance from you in that fact, because you're really leading by example, especially in the art world. You're out there, and with anybody in that fact, any walk of life, but you're really showing the humanitarian side, which sometimes we don't see enough of that in any walk of life. So, again, thank you very much for everything that you've done.
Oh, well, thanks. That's nice to have the acknowledgement. Thank you.
I didn't want to brag because it doesn't exactly fit in here, but my daughter, my oldest daughter, is an art therapist. So everything you are saying, I have seen through her firsthand, and she gets so much satisfaction and fulfillment out of it. She's worked with homeless people. She's worked with abused kids. She's worked with abused women. And she says kind of exactly what you guys were both saying. For that time, for that period, when they are creating, they are able to forget, or at least process. I don't know if it's forget, but it's process the damage and the harm, and they're able to relax and feel good about themselves for a time. And it really does seem to make a huge difference in people's lives to have that outlet. And I think everyone should have some sort of artistic outlet. It really doesn't much matter what it is, but I think it's critical to being human. When you see the art, the cave art that goes back 30,000 years, this is nothing recent. People have realized that they needed that outlet for an awful long time, and I think it's something that we need to address. The other thing that needs to happen is people need to leave their daughters alone. So there.
Yes, that is true as well.
That's a big one for sure.
My goodness. That is just, could you fail more epically as a parent? Your job is to, love and cherish and support and
protect. I mean, yeah, we got to. I mean, this is a safe environment. I mean, that's what all children need, is a safe environment to be children, not to be, abused and
used.
It's horrific.
Well,
used and treated like an object.
Well, children that are in a safe environment truly flourish. I myself, I have a teenage daughter, and she's very artistic. She loves music, and she loves singing especially. Now, if they are safe and they are nurtured correctly, they will do wonderful and great things for this world. But on the other hand, if you do not nurture them or protect them, they are going to grow up to do nothing great because they've never had the guidance to see greatness.
Well, that's it, and this is all our jobs, I think, as human beings. I mean, I look at it. I mean, we're on the planet for such a short amount of time, and we get caught up in this reality that this is it, and we're going to be here forever, and we get caught up in things that don't really matter. In the end, we're all dying. We're all leaving the planet the same way. I mean, well, not maybe. Our situation might be different, but
sure.
we're all going to die. So I look at it as what kind of legacy are you leaving? Are you helping? Are you caring? Are you trying to make the world a better place, or are you just making adding more crap to the fire?
No, yeah, exactly. I think Jim Morrison said it best. No one gets out of this life alive. I mean,
exactly.
It's what we do in between.
Exactly. Yeah, my thoughts exactly.
And what job? Let's face it, for our place in mankind, for the perpetuation of the race, what job is more important than parent? And there isn't any, I don't think.
No.
And so people who fail so utterly, who abdicate, all the positives that can come from being a parent, it's just, I don't understand it. I truly do not. This is one thing I have no empathy for whatsoever. People who abuse their children. I'm not talking about get mad at them, yell at them. I mean, children can be absolutely infuriating.
Mm-hmm.
There is no question about it. But, all of that has to be within fairly narrow parameters. You can't go outside those parameters.
No, you can't. I have two sons that push my buttons. I love them dearly. And yeah, I yell at them once in a while because I'll tell you what. Boys, and I'm one of them, do some of the dumbest things I've ever seen human beings do. And it makes me thank God that somehow I survived being that dumb. God bless them, and I love both of them to death. But you see that children truly need us. They need us to be parents, and when we betray that trust, there's a sacred trust there between parent and child. When that has been betrayed, I do believe if there is a hell, there's a special place in it for those kind of people.
Exactly, because how do you get that trust back? I mean, you can't.
Because
this is it. I mean, and it's leading by example. I mean, as a parent, as a human being, we need to have good examples. We need to be out there doing what we believe is right, so that people can see us and our children or and go, this is how we should, treat other people and treat the world and treat ourselves, for that matter.
Exactly, and I don't want to spin off to psychology here, but it creates a cycle, is what it does.
And completely, exactly. And I mean, you look at the world today, it's kind of like, what's going on? I always look at, even with the series, I mean, you look at Columbine Massacre, I mean, that happens, and Michael Moore makes this huge movie, and it's on everyone's, front of everyone's mind, it's on everyone's consciousness. And Sandy, I mean, it's still occurring. What the heck is going on?
Yes.
Why aren't we addressing things that need to be addressed? And why does it continue to happen?
That is a good question. And everybody has their opinion of why it's happening, but there is a reason, and maybe some of us are too afraid to look inside of ourselves to find out why it's happening.
That's it, exactly. It is. I mean, the tagline for my Dark and Wounded series is "Beyond fear, there's freedom," because I think it's based in fear. We're afraid.
Yes.
And if you can get past that fear, there is freedom. You can achieve anything, do anything once you get over your fear.
Yeah, once you're over your fear, pardon the expression, there's nothing left to fear. I mean, you're free to do what you want. You're free to pursue what you want. But you know, and that's such a great point. That's you know, you bring up such great points, and to be honest with you, it's horrifying. The current state of the world scares the hell out of me.
Scares the hell out of me too. It's crazy. We live in this insane world sometimes. I mean, you look at you watch the news, open the paper, you know, you just go, what the heck are we doing? This is crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
So, James, you're not just talking about it. You know, we're talking about this, and we're going blah blah blah, and we mean it. We're sincere, certainly, and it's important that these topics come out. But you're actually in the real world doing something about it. So I'd love to hear you just kind of walk us through, you know, the whole the dark and the wounded process, and how you have arrived at this, and then, you know, what's going to happen in just a few days at Alcatraz.
Okay, well, I mean, it's about energy, and for me, we are energy. This is what we are. I mean, we pick up on energy, and one of the examples I like to use, I mean, you can be in a room with people, and, you know, some guy bursts in the door, and everyone notices this guy. I mean, he's loud, he's boisterous. We pick up on energy, and then there's people who are soft and meek, and we don't pick up anything. Or what they look like, I can't remember. They were just, you know.
Yeah.
It's energy. So we are energy, and for me, the dark and the wounded is about tapping into that energy. And, you know, first, I mean, looking at my friend, for example, I did her portrait, and then I started looking at my own life. I mean, I came from an abused childhood and lots of trauma, and I looked at my own life and things that affected me, and that went into the series. And then I started looking at different elements of society and historically as humans, you know, what are we doing to Holocaust and racism, homophobia, you know, residential schools, like different things that have occurred that are very dark and hidden. I mean, look at organized religion. There was a lot of stuff that went on there, and, you know, abuse of children again, and things being hidden and not addressed. And for me, to create these paintings is one thing to, you know, to think about these thoughts, you know, which are quite dark. But I started to find that going into these places, going into asylums and prisons, and going over to Europe, and, you know, going into these dark areas, and then drawing and feeling that energy, and then that's what I'm trying to get and transfer into the work itself, so that when you're standing in front of an image or a painting of mine, you know, you're picking up on that energy that I'm transferring into it. Mm-hmm. And basically, how I started, after I started the series, I talked to a few gallery people that I know, and they said, there's no way in hell we're showing these paintings. They're too disturbing, they're too deep, people don't want to look at this stuff, no way. And then I got hired to be a hand double for this movie, and the film was being shot in a abandoned psychiatric asylum. And when I wasn't on set, I was wandering in the asylum going, this is perfect for an exhibition. Like, this is a dark part of society that people don't even get a chance to go into unless you've been diagnosed as mentally ill or whatever and thrown in there. And I thought, I'm going to start using these buildings for exhibitions. And in order to get people out of a gallery setting where you're sitting there with a glass of wine with bright lights and looking at a painting, I'm going to bring people in these buildings at night. The first exhibit we did was almost on Halloween. I think it was on Halloween or the 30th, somewhere on there. And it was this asylum. A storm happened to come up, and you drive up this winding road to this asylum. All the shows were done at night. So you would just be basically, and we lit everything very dimly with LED, like flashlights. And you're given a flashlight, and you're basically wandering this entire asylum looking at art. And a friend of mine in Hollywood, I've known him for a long time, he does all the soundtracks for Silent Hill and Resident Evil, and he's worked with, he did the Dr. Parnassus movie. So he does this sort of obscure music, and he created a soundtrack to go with the paintings. And what we do is we bring in a PA system, and so we have this sound echoing through this asylum, and you're walking through at midnight with a flashlight and having this experience where you can't just turn the TV off or walk out of the gallery. You're immersed in a darkened world, which is representational of who we are inside. And that energy of the building is just as important, I think, as the art as is the music.
Do you ever find it's a little too much for the viewer? You know, where they're forced, where they have to confront their own darkness?
Definitely. There's people who have left and walked in and walked out again. Some people have run out again. It's very interesting. But there's definitely an incredible energy in these places that is, it's really conducive to creating reflection and looking within, and because it's you're out of your comfort zone. I feel that's when things change. It's sort of like if you're going about living your day-to-day life. I mean, we just talked about cancer, but you don't have cancer, you don't think about it. When the doctor tells you you've got cancer, that's all you think about, and all of a sudden now your reality is not about your mortgage and your house and keeping your lawn clean. It's about, oh my God, what's important in life? And
yes,
and I think it's kind of similar. You're all of a sudden out of your comfort zone. You're walking these, you're on the 4th floor of this asylum in a darkened hallway, and you're walking down with a flashlight. It's pretty creepy in there, and you're getting this sort of real visceral experience.
And you bring up cancer, and unfortunately, I have intimate knowledge of cancer. My dad passed of cancer. And I'll never forget when he was diagnosed how that became his world, cancer.
Exactly, yeah.
Of course, he loved all of his kids and his wife, but really everything after that diagnosis, everything was cancer to him. That's all he could think about, and it tormented him. It really did, and I feel, I felt horrible for him because, where you and I and everybody else that think about tomorrow, all they thought about, or anyone with a major disease, thinks about the disease.
Exactly. So I imagine if you now, people I've known who have had cancer, my father actually passed away of cancer as well.
No, I'm sorry to hear that. It's a horrible disease.
Okay.
Horrible disease.
It is. It's a horrible disease. And but I find like a lot of people, all of a sudden they get to the core of what's really important. And I always thought, like, imagine if you didn't have cancer, but you came to that same conclusion of what's really important in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And you went, hang on a second, what's really, does this house really matter? Does the car really matter? Does all these, what's really at the core of it? And that's what I'm hoping, to instill in some ways with some of these paintings, this interaction to get you start thinking like, what is important in life? And, life is very fleeting. So let's get to the core of it. So we stop wasting time on things that don't matter and not going, okay, now it's at the end of my life, or I've got cancer, I'm going to cram everything in. Why don't we live our life more, like it's not, we're not here forever. And let's stick to what's really important.
And it was kind of weird because after like someone's been diagnosed with a terminal illness, they have described it to me as being the most free part of their life as well, because a lot of us live to pay bills. A lot of us live for the mundane. They don't do that anymore. They live for the moment.
Exactly. You live life to the fullest, and every day. I had a sister who was murdered when I was 19, and that's when everything sort of flipped for me, because I realized right then how fleeting life was, and to this day, every time I wake up, like if I go to sleep, when I wake up, I'm alive on the planet. Like I get another opportunity to paint and do what I need to do, or work with people, or whatever. This is my chance. I have one. It's like a gift. Every day is a gift, and that's what the death of my sister really taught me too. How fleeting things are, and really we need to embrace what's really important.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
When you're talking about something really important, when the words could be construed as just a whole bunch of cliches, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're talking about really important things. And you never know when that's going to happen. We talk to people, we interview people all the time, but it's rare we get into this kind of level of depth and this core thing. The other thing I was thinking as you guys were just talking now is I wonder how much of the structure of our lives, the structure of civilization, the way we conduct ourselves, the way we live our lives, where we focus, I wonder how much of that is set up very specifically so we don't have to think about the important things.
Yeah, I think it is set up that way. That's how do you manage billions of people on the planet, and how do you manage society? I mean, we set things up, and we're kind of pre-programmed, I feel, to go down this route and not. It's like when you're a kid. Every kid's an artist. I want to be an artist, and then you're taught, hey, you know what? Time to get a
haircut and get a real job.
Get a real job, cut your hair, all that stuff, right?
Exactly.
But why not just follow through and with what you want to do? I mean, life is short.
Exactly. We got to run a break, everybody. Boy, did this creep up fast on us. But when we come back, more James Picard. And remember, you can do anything you want, but make sure one of those things is you come back right here. Be right back right after this.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey? Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
Oh, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
America's Most Haunted, The Secrets of Famous Paranormal Places is now an epic book from Berkeley Penguin. History, legends, investigations, interviews, and profiles of America's 10 most haunted hotspots by Eric Olson and haunted housewife Teresa Archie. Be sure to join us on Twitter and Facebook at AM Haunted, Pinterest at America's Most Haunted, and our website, americas-most-haunted.com. And here every week on America's Most Haunted Radio with all the top names in the paranormal field.
Hi, I'm Kip Parker.
And I'm Charlie Parker.
And we're the Parker Brothers. Hey, Charlie, what's missing from our game catalog?
I don't know, Kip. Tell me.
Well, you can't talk to the dead.
You sure as hell can. That's
why we got this brand new game called Ouija.
Ouija? Well, break that down for me.
That's Wii because you're having a great time. And G, it's because G, aren't you having a blast because you're having a good time with the Wii.
It looks like it smelled like a Chinaman got caught in there.
Don't question it.
Well, Ouija, Kip, tell me about it.
Well, inside the package comes a flat board with all the letters of the alphabet, numbers from 0 to 9, and a yes-no written out by itself.
Well, that sounds like a lot of stuff going on.
It's got a lot of stuff going on indeed, Charlie. It also comes with this planchette, which hovers over the letters the dead are trying to tell you.
Well, how does that work, Chip?
Well, you ask the question, and then the dead move your hands in the direction of the answers.
That sounds like a heck of a way to find Grandpa's slave money.
Turns out it was in the attic. But the questions don't have to be as serious as slavery. You can also find out if Sally's got a crush on you. The dead like to answer all sorts of trivial questions.
Feels like they'd have better things to do with their time, Kip.
No, lost souls are lost forever, and they're really glad to help.
Well, gee, Kip, can't you just get any sort of board with numbers and letters and talk to the dead?
The dead prefer quality like anybody else. Quality you can only find at Parker & Parker.
The Ouija board, brought to you by the Parker Brothers, available in both white and colored Walworths. Separate but equal savings.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
I got a rather serious problem over here.
All right, what are we looking at?
Cranky mother-in-law asleep on the couch in the man cave.
Dear God.
It gets worse.
That's impossible.
She's passed out on the remote.
I stand corrected.
What do I do?
Okay, I want you to grab a Torrin Big Red hydraulic bottle jack.
Okay.
Now you wedge that bad boy in under your mother-in-law and crank her up skyward.
It's working. And got the remote.
Great. Now grab that Torrin Big Red 2-ton folding shop crane and put that woman on wheels.
And away we go.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. The only show that makes, I guess, everybody that Eric offended nervous. But okay, Eric, you didn't offend that many people.
It was my turn.
We're back. I'm Joel Sturgis, and of course, as always, with me,
Eric Olson.
Eric, the man that they're going to be after with pitchforks and torches by the time the show is done, Olson. That's right. You can go ahead and email Eric over at eric@afterhoursam.com. No, we all know you love Eric, so absolutely. But we're going to get right back into it with our host tonight, James Picard, and no relation to Jean-Luc Picard from the Enterprise. So stop emailing me that. He was not real, Jean-Luc. Okay, he was not real. He was on Star Trek.
Plus, James has way more hair.
Yeah, and he's much better looking, in my opinion. I'm just saying.
Oh, thank you.
Just saying.
Thank you.
And we were leaving, and we were talking, of course, it kind of shifted gears in the serious end. But how will we go now into the paranormal end? Do you believe in ghosts, James?
Well, I believe in energy. That's for sure. I mean, I've definitely had some incredible different experiences in my life. But I would say, I don't know if I believe in ghosts, but definitely, I mean, I have seen some crazy stuff over the last year or so doing this tour, going into some of these buildings. It's pretty phenomenal. I'm going to say I believe in, I'm not even too sure what I've seen half the time.
Come on, Switzerland.
I don't know if I'd say ghosts, but there's something out there for sure.
I was going to say, come on, Switzerland. Give us an answer.
But do I believe in ghosts? Okay, yes, I do.
No, of course, I'm just teasing you. I'm right along with you. I think a lot of the jury's still out on what this is, what phenomena is going on. I mean, we know it's intelligent, but we also know it's energy. Because we're all energy. Yeah. Each and every one of us is energy. Einstein said it best. You can neither create nor destroy energy. It can only change form.
That's exactly it. And I think it does change form. There's some crazy stuff like going into some of these, taking these asylums that we've been into with the show, you get a lot. I mean, just imagine all the patients in there and there's a lot of crazy stuff. And you go to prisons where, you're taking some of the worst of society. Some of the people don't care. They're full on out there. And that energy, I think it floats around. There's been a few, there was one incident when we were in Linda Vista Hospital in Los Angeles. And we decided because we're filming this for a movie, a documentary, we decided, hey, this will be really cool. We'll set up an easel in the morgue. And
in the morgue,
I'll do a painting. That's seemed like a great place to paint.
Well,
I kind of felt comfortable there. I'm going to end up there eventually. So we set up this easel. We had a cameraman, and I'm down, in the basement at the back end of the hospital, and there was a reporter who was supposed to come down and talk to me, and she had left, and I didn't know what the heck happened to her because she never showed up. And I start painting. I do this painting of a little girl. I have no idea what I'm going to paint. It just starts to happen. And anyway, I call this reporter the next day. I'm going, well, what happened? I thought you were coming. She goes, well, I was there. And I said, well, I didn't see you. And she said, well, I was walking down. I heard you were in the morgue. And so they told me where it was. And I went down to the basement. I'm walking down there. And I hear a little girl whisper in my ear, get out.
Whoa.
And so I got the hell out of there. I had no contact with her. And I'm painting a painting of a little girl.
You're just doing your thing, painting the painting. Next thing she hears, get out. Gee, that'd make me want to run too. I'm just saying.
Yeah, in the voice of a little girl. That's crazy.
Oh, so it's more like, get out.
That's probably more it.
Well, dual nature, that's almost like a doppelganger experience, whereas you were painting simultaneously this little girl, and presumably the same little girl who you were influenced by, who somehow, some way impressed herself upon your consciousness, then spoke to this other person at the same time while you were painting.
Yeah, it's pretty. That was so phenomenal for me, and it was it kind of I used to get creeped out going to these places, but I was kind of drawn to them, and now I find them so peaceful and relaxing. I love just milling about in the dark in some of these abandoned hospitals. And when we were in the asylum in New York, Rolling Hills Asylum, really funny thing happened there too, because I started taking my sketchbook and drawing. And the woman there, Sharon Cole, who owns the asylum, in this one room, I just had this impulse. I drew this drawing. It's a nurse. I drew this nurse. And she after I showed her, and this is like about a week later, she starts going into the archives, and she pulls out this picture in the 40s or 50s in this newspaper in upstate New York of the nurse who used to work in the asylum, and it looks like my drawing.
Damn! Now, when you're painting, do you ever feel like these spirits are interacting with you?
There is an energy. This is what we're talking about, energy. I feel that. I feel like I'm almost giving a voice to them. And what's really unique is, with all the paranormal shows and, people trying to look for clues, are there ghosts out there, and what's that noise? What's really funny is I'm in these buildings. I'm not trying to provoke anything. I'm like that conduit. I'm just drawing. Sure. And now it seems like over the last year, I've started drawing more when I'm in these buildings, and I'm connecting with something that's there for sure, because even my style of drawing is different. When I have my sketchbook, and I have a certain technique that I follow when I'm drawing, this is like I'm almost not even drawing. There's something bizarre happening. It's almost like something's coming to me and coaxing me to draw who they are or something along that lines.
So it's almost like psychic drawing in some aspects.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre. It's pretty bizarre, I'll tell you that much. That's for sure. Yeah, but it's not. What's that, Eric?
Writing. I was just going to say it kind of is like the automatic writing technique.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So what do you think is the actual mechanism? I know sometimes if you stare at something too intently, it can kind of mess up the process. But what do you think is the actual mechanism whereby this energy or this consciousness, whatever it is influencing you?
I think I believe that the more I go into these buildings, especially these asylums, there's a lot of people who did not have a voice, who were not able to communicate, and I feel it's like they want to be heard. That sounds kind of crazy, but that's how it sort of feels.
You know what you should do? You should go into a brothel one time and see what happens. Abandoned brothel and see what gets painted. That'd be kind of funny.
Well, you never know. I don't know. Maybe something bizarre will pop up.
Yeah, exactly. We'll paint the first thing that pops up.
It will hereby henceforth be known as the dead horror effect.
Yes. Coined by Eric Olson, the dead horror effect. Oh my Lord. No, but I mean, when you're painting, and you're really, I think in some aspects, it sounds like you're opening yourself up artistically to them at the very least. And you're like you said, the conduit. I find that fascinating that whatever is there, you want to call ghosts, energy, whatever, they're able to, or it's able to use you in some aspects to maybe tell its own story while it's doing it through picture.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. Like when we were at Rolling Hills Asylum, there was another room that I was drawing in, and it's funny. The cameraman, we had set up all these lights, and I was drawing, and I had this. I said, I feel like I need to sit in the closet to finish this drawing. And he's going, well, we set up all the lights. I said, I have no idea why I want to do this, but I feel the urge to just sit in the closet. Don't close the closet all the way because, I'm freaking out. I don't know what's going on, but I feel the need to do this. And so that's what we did. And I ended up drawing this sort of screaming girl, and we finished the shoot, and we went downstairs, and Sharon, the owner, said, where were you up? We were up in the West Wing, up in the top room. And she said, oh, there's a ghost up there, the little girl that likes to lock people in the closet.
Well, sure, now you tell me. I drew the screaming girl.
That's bizarre because I had no information of this. No one told me anything. And it's just phenomenal how there's this weird connection. And then when the rest of the staff was there, it's the voice, the drawing is sort of the screaming drawing, and they're saying, "Oh, is that the screaming girl up on the 4th floor?"
You know,
This is bizarre. There's something going on.
James, sometime when you're painting, especially in one of these dark, dreary places, you should turn a recorder on one time while you're painting to see if you pick up any voices, any commands, any discussion with you that you're not hearing, that maybe you're hearing on a subconscious level, to see if there's some
Joe,
contact.
the first time we did this exhibition, we were interviewing some of the attendees, and there was a young girl, about 16, who we interviewed, and we chose one of the back rooms, and the director at the time, she's no longer working on the project, but she was interviewing her. So in the room was a microphone. The girl was mic'd up. The director was in there.
No, don't break up on us now.
Well, we were looking. We watched this at the end. There was 3 voices that came up on the recorder, and there was no one in the room. There was 2 people in the room. There was not 3 people. There's definitely a different voice.
God, that must have given you some pause right there. You know,
totally. I mean, yeah, definitely. There's something unique going on there, and I feel like I said before, the paintings are almost like a voice to whatever energy is in there, and I'm continually painting in the series, so I just keep getting more and more excited as it progresses.
James, I was just thinking you could perhaps anyway add yet another layer to this onion that you are creating. If you did record, just kind of as a matter of course, don't even think about it. Just turn it on, let it go, just a digital recorder. Anything that would appear on that, if you could then present that or make that material available to the guy who's writing your music, that would add yet another level of involvement. And
you mean work the EVP voice directly into the recording?
Yeah,
that would be eerie. Wow. That would be a very eerie, cool thing to have happen.
That would be very cool. Yeah.
I mean, you could he would manipulate it in some way, or loop it, whatever. I mean, that's up to the musical artist to work with. But I'm just saying, probably anything you can do to further. What do I want to say? Not justify, but to authenticate, to bring in authentic elements, authentic energy, would just be yet another layer. Although it certainly doesn't sound like you need a whole lot more. It sounds like it is working really, really well. I'm also super curious, and I'm sure you were going to get to it. What kind of responses then come from the attendees, the viewers? Have they had experiences then that have fed off? Have they had paranormal experiences as a result of the environment and your paintings and the music and the overall overwhelming vibiness of it all?
Well, I know for a fact, though, I mean, people have been affected in a way that I've never seen. I mean, I've had hundreds of exhibitions. I've never seen people standing in front and weeping in front of paintings in a way that's so impacting. And I know that some of the stories that people have shared with me afterwards are stories of connection and deep thought and connecting with the paintings in a very healing way, which, to me, sort of ties in with our beginning conversation. I mean, it's really beneficial. But there's definitely things that have happened. I mean, we had one crew member that was up on the 4th floor of the one asylum, and we couldn't find him for about a half an hour. And went up there and opened the door, and he goes, "I could not open that door. There's no lock on the door." I mean, there's things that have occurred. I think the attendees, I mean, there's definitely, no one has come out and told us exactly like a huge paranormal story, but there's definitely things that happen. And I know for me, that's the first thing that triggered me with the whole other dimension kind of thing was there was a smell. Like when we went to the first asylum, there was a really bizarre medicinal smell that I never forget, and it's been in every single venue that we've been in. And I was even over in France at there's a village in the south of France called Ordor-sur-Glane, and it was where the Nazis had massacred this entire village and disfigured the corpses, threw people alive in wells and set them on fire. It's a really horrific incident, and the president of France decided, let's keep this town intact as a monument to the brutality of humanity and the brutality that the Nazis committed. And they've left it exactly as it was June 10th, 1944, and it's all outdoors. I'm standing outdoors, and I can smell the same medicinal smell. It's bizarre. There's definitely some connection between all this world and this other world.
Oh, for sure. I really totally agree with that. I think that there's a bigger connection than what we realize.
Definitely.
Now, have you, when you're in France, did you ever go to the catacombs?
Yeah, the catacombs, I mean, this is something, after the tour that we're doing now, we're going to Alcatraz at the beginning of May, then we're going to Preston Castle, just outside Sacramento, and then we're going to Casa de Rosas in Los Angeles, and then the goal is to get over to Europe after that, and there's a multitude of places that I would like to exhibit, including the catacombs, where there's just it's a giant burial ground underneath Paris, which would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder what kind of thoughts of paintings you get in that kind of environment. I mean, or it could very well be so overwhelming too.
Well, I think so, but I'm completely open to the overwhelming. I'm all in. I'm putting all my chips in.
I'll try anything once, right? Give it a try. See what happens. Now, I almost
want to go
to
this. I think if you're doing this and you're gonna, don't dip your foot in, and if you're go in all the way and just
go
watch
big
what happens. Otherwise, what's the point?
Go big or go home. That's what I say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I almost have to say that talking to you and hearing how things come about, it almost seems like spirit therapy right along with therapy for us too.
That's how it feels for me too. Yeah, it's pretty. It's been a journey for sure, and I mean, I've looked deep inside myself and saw all those demons as well, and things that I'm working with, and I know that there's a lot of people that are coming on board and coming to these events and watching what happens. And with the film, we're trying to release the film in 2016, and we're going to all these sites, and we're doing an incredible job filming. The crew is getting some amazing shots, including some bizarre stuff that's happened on film as well.
Really? So do tell the weird things that are going on film.
Well, there's stuff that has happened. Like it's funny because when we go into these buildings, and at first I wasn't too sure how we're going to light them because I'm very respectful of the building. I'm not just trying to use it. I'm trying to really be respectful for whoever the building itself, the energy of the building. And at first I thought, well, how are we going to light these pieces? And I was standing there with my flashlight. And I thought, well, why don't we just light everything with a flashlight and we'll kill the lights? And
sure.
We're doing a POV one time going through, and every flashlight starts going out as we're going past it, and then we'd pass it, and then they would just come back on again. Bizarre.
That
we
is
checked all
bizarre.
The batteries. All the batteries were,
wow.
Fine.
Well, that is one of the very common claims or behaviors in the presumed presence of spirits or the paranormal, is that there's all kinds of interference or draining of electrical, especially devices, and it seems, or batteries, and it seems like perhaps they require that, they want that enables them to then function in some way they wouldn't otherwise be able to, or they're just messing with us. I had another question. As far as there doesn't seem to be any question that this is quite therapeutic. It's therapeutic for you. It's therapeutic for the people who attend the show. It appears it may be therapeutic for spirits as well. The mechanism of that therapy, is it catharsis? I mean, is this the Greek tragedy route, or is this something else, do you think?
Well, is it the Greek tragedy route? That's an interesting question. I mean, I think what it is life is both. I mean, life is light and dark, and energy is light and dark, and I think it's a matter of not focusing just on one thing. And I think that's what we tend to do, is we we like to look at the good, or we turn away from the bad. And I think it's that balance. I think, and by looking at that darkness, it creates that balance, and we get to see, like, life is great, but so's death. That's okay too.
Yeah.
It's all part of a balance, and this is what it means to be human. Is to we all have light and dark within us, and most of the time, we want that. I'm living in a bubble. I want everything perfect. I don't want, I want to be healthy. I want everyone to be. Of course we do, but death is a part of it. Like, and we push that aside because we have fear of it. But there is no fear. I don't think there should be fear, and I honestly think that because we're going to die, we should really have no fear, because that's the one guarantee. I mean, there's no guarantee you have your job, or you're going to. You're going to be healthy your whole life. There's no guarantee your kids are going to live forever. No guarantee your car is going to start tomorrow. But we believe those things are more real, and death is not. But death is the real. That is the 100 guaranteed percent. I'll put money on it. We're all going to die.
Well,
and yet we push that aside, right?
Exactly. I mean, death and taxes, only things are
death and taxes,
for sure.
Exactly.
That's the only thing 100% that'll come for you.
Yep. True.
And but looking at your art and hearing how it comes about, and I have to say it's fascinating how you can be in a location and then paint dead-on imagery of past residents of this location. Does it ever freak you out as the painter when you're done? Do you ever step back and go, "Damn, that's creepy"?
Every single time it freaks me out, and it's funny. There's times I've painted in my life where, I don't know, I'll be starting to paint like an old master, and I'm not too sure where these ideas are coming from, but they just come, and so I just go with them. That's the thing. I let the creativity flow.
Sure.
When I'm in these buildings and I'm creating something, at the end of it, it freaks me the hell out sometimes. There was one where, I go back to the hotel, and I think something's followed me back. Like, I think, did I just open some kind of doorway with this drawing and allowed something to come back? Because I'm freaking out here a little bit. Because I look at it, and I'm not too sure. Like, usually, if I'm drawing you, Eric, and I'm in front of you, and there's Eric, and there's his nose, and that's his eyes, and blah, blah, blah. But this is like something where...
They would say, is that a Picasso?
So different. So different. Freaky. It does freak me out. Yeah. But I'm open to it. I just think keep bringing it. I want to be a conduit for this, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems that to me, talking with you, I think that you might, and I kind of tread lightly here, might have your own bit of psychic ability.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not, it's funny what happens. There's an energy, I don't know. There's some energy that I pick up on, and even when I set up the paintings, we have a plan. My assistant and I will go through and I'll go, here's where we're going to hang it. I'll get to a building and I'll go, this cannot go in this room. Like, this painting, he goes, well, we're supposed to put it in this room. I said, no, the feeling, there's something different. It's got to go in this room. And then, someone will say, wow, why'd you put that in the room? I said, I don't know. Intuitively, it felt to go there. And they go, well, that was the room of this guy who just looked like that painting you put in there. Or, that's a World War II room where the veteran was, and you just put a World War II Nazi painting in there. And I'm going, what?
Yeah, that's
I don't even know how it's happening. But there is something going on for sure. And
that's that holy crap moment.
That's the holy crap moment where I'm not too sure what's happening, but something's happening. And it freaks me out, but I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated with it.
It's amazing.
And it seems there's almost something like that when the paintings are there, it almost brings the energy. It's almost like a sponge. It tends to bring out the energy. The more we hang the paintings, the more the energy just kind of oozes.
You know what I was just thinking of, again, as you were talking, and I'm visualizing. Do you remember the old Rod Serling Night Gallery?
I do. That's
a
freaky show.
Yeah.
I
haven't thought that for a long time.
Think how applicable that, the formula, the format of that show is to what you do. These paintings have within them these tales, Picture's worth 1,000 words, and that sounds like it's exactly what you're doing.
Well, you know what? That's bang on. Wow, I've not thought of Rod Sterling's Night Gallery in a long time.
Oh, what a show! What a show! What a show! But we're not going to the Twilight Zone, guys. But we are going to break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more James Picard right after this.
It's your ideas, work, and creativity that make it your yard. At Ace, we're here to help with hoses and sprinklers to nurture growth, gardening tools for the shape of good things to come, even the right fertilizer and bug killers to make the grass a little greener. You'll find it all now at Ace, your place, with everything you need for your yard, plus helpful advice, almost like we're right there. Ace,
the helpful place.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Hello, and welcome to today's lottery drawing. Good luck. And here's today's winning numbers. First one up, it's not yours. Second one, not yours. And another number that's not yours. Okay, this is one number that's yours. It's a 5, but you don't get any money for that. And the final number is not yours.
Yep, so chances are you're not going to hit the lottery anytime soon. Don't get us wrong, the lottery can be fun every now and then. Just please don't rely on it for your future savings. How about this? Brew your own coffee at home instead of buying that latte every day. Brown bag it to work instead of ordering in. Ride your bike instead of buying all that gas. These changes alone can save you thousands a year. Thousands. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feed that piggy bank. Go to feedthepig.org for more free ideas on how to save. Feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Excuse me. Thousands of cancer patients can't afford a place to stay when the best treatment is far from home. A room shouldn't be the difference between life and death. Let's make sure that everyone who needs a room gets one. Let's make some noise. Let's help the American Cancer Society finish the fight.
Text ROOM to 41518 to donate $10.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
And welcome back to After Hours AM. I am your host, Joel Sturgis, along with the absolutely talented.
I guess you mean Eric Olson.
I would. That's what I meant. I was, trying to throw you a bone, man. Jump on that thing once in a while. Well, wait a minute. That sounded horrible, didn't it? Okay. Let me rephrase that. Trying to give you a no, I can't go there either. I'm trying to be nice to you. There it is.
Thank you.
we are back.
Well said.
We are back with James Picard, and James is quite a talent. Anyone that's just tuning in, I want everybody to go on over to, while you're listening here, darkandwounded.com. You will see examples of art there that will haunt you and blow your mind all at the same time.
Oh, well said.
It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah, and if people, I also have a website, jamespicard.com, if people want to check out all the other stuff.
Yeah, go to jamespicardaswell.com. Of course, that is spelled, James and then Picard, just like the captain of the Starship Enterprise.
Captain. Engage,
Mr. Sulu. Engage.
Also on the site are the locations and dates of your The Dark and the Wounded exhibit, appearance, show thingies. So let's tell people what those are. You got Preston Castle, that's near Sacramento. That's on the 7th. Of course, we've been mentioning Alcatraz through the whole show. That's May 5th, isn't it?
That's May the 5th, yeah. And some of these venues, we open them wide open to the public. Some of the venues, we get really selective to how many people come just for the experience. Alcatraz is one of those things. Mainly, I mean, we don't do a huge public event. If you're looking for tickets, you need to go through the darkandwounded.com website to get tickets. It's on Eventbrite for Preston Castle on the 7th, and then we're doing Casa de Rosas, which is downtown LA, on May the 10th, which is Mother's Day. And if you want to bring your mom, you get it free.
Say, what a gift for Mom right there. Hey, Mom, I love you. Let's go and look at some macabre, shall we, Mom? It'll be a good time.
You know, where does all the Dark and Wounded stuff come from? No. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, sorry, Mom. You did kind of hurt my feelings when I was young, so, you know. Take that.
Well, yeah, so we're doing these 3 venues coming up, and we've got a multitude of venues coming up in the future, heading over to Europe. And we've been touring since 2012, just sort of honing and getting everything down. And Dark and Wounded's got all the updates for everything. So if anyone's interested in any other information, they can contact Dark and Wounded, or they can even reach me at james@jamespicard.com if you're interested in going or you want any information as well.
So the paintings in each of these settings is unique to that setting, right? Or do you take them with you?
Well, we take them with. I mean, each painting. Right. It started with the first painting of that one woman, and that was, I guess it's about 3.5 years ago now. I guess that happened almost 4 years ago, and there is I think there's over 90 pieces now in the series, and they all keep coming. So if you're coming into these places, there's probably anywhere between 60 and 90 paintings, and they keep adding to it because I keep adding to it every time we go to a new venue. I'm continually drawing and painting and being inspired by that venue as well. So the series keeps growing, and all the pieces are sort of strategically put in that intuitive way, so everyone can walk around and get the experience. Well, one of the things we don't like to do is unless the building is really huge, we don't like to open it up to hundreds and hundreds of people because we want everyone to have this sort of personal experience. And even when we're filming, where everything's done very stealth, and you're going through and you're having your own, personal experience with all the art as you walk through the building.
And you get to scare the hell out of people.
Yeah, well, it's pretty scary. Well, you know what's funny is at the end of it, you have all these strangers coming in, and there's groups have got together, and they're all part of the Dark and Wounded, family, I guess now, because they've been to these events, and people connect with each other. It's pretty fascinating.
You have groupies, don't you?
I'm feeling dark and wounded.
James, you have groupies,
We're all
don't you?
dark and wounded.
James has groupies. Listen to him.
Well, it's all about humanity. It's all about being a human being and exposing things that we all need to see or look within. There was a really interesting story that happened. There was a gentleman who was standing in front of one of these paintings for a long time. It's a painting of this sort of tortured woman sitting in a chair. And everyone saw this guy. He's standing in front of this painting for a long time, and no one. I didn't want anyone to disturb him. He's having his moment. He's tearing up, and this other person's comforting him. And what ended up happening is he leaves, and I get this email a couple days later, and he said that painting was his mother. And he said, I had this really interesting experience. He said, I was all spooked out, like this is going to be creepy. And he said, I stood in front of this painting, and he said, I'm gay. I came out of the closet when I was 16, and my parents disowned me. He said, I have no family. He said, that painting was my mother. And I realized at that moment, I had this epiphany, and I realized that she's wounded. She's the one who's got the issues, and it's not me. It's not my fault. He says, I felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. I picked up the phone, hadn't talked to her in 25 years. I phoned her and told her I was at this art exhibition. I saw her in a painting, and she's got all these dark wounds and issues that she's not dealing with, and it's not me. He said she broke down on the phone. She wanted to see me. We got together and have a mother again. Incredible.
Wow.
That is something else.
It doesn't get more profound than that. I mean, you really should. It sounds like you're a pretty humble person. You're not looking for a bunch of credit. You're more experiential. You want to have these experiences. But man, you really, really help those people. Not one or the other, but both of them. That's pretty amazing. I was going to ask. It kind of follows a little bit from that. When you're moving the exhibit, a given work of art, from location to location, do you see it differently? Does it appear differently to you in a different location?
Oh, that's a great question, because you know what? It does. It changes. Like, these paintings are altered depending on what building they're in. There's a whole different vibe to them. Like, there's certain paintings, you put them in a prison, they feel a certain way, and you put them somewhere else, and there's a whole different energy that you pick off it. It's pretty incredible. And it's almost like, this is going to sound kind of bizarre, but it's almost like they're gaining this energy. We end up getting them back to the studio after we toured, and I'll have them sitting there. And there's one, it's called The Apparitions, and it's this giant painting of these school children. And I couldn't, for the longest time, like, I love that painting. I put my heart and soul into it, you know, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. That painting, as it's toured and come back, it's got such an energy. I have to turn it around. I can't even have it facing me in the studio, because there's something bizarre. It's got so much energy.
And kids are creepy anyway. Let's just be honest. They're creepy.
Kids, the grudge. Come on.
and don't forget now, The Shining, Red Rum. Come on, man. They're creepy lot.
That's the classic. The twins, perfect. Red Rum and his son, crazy.
Oh, kids are just crazy, man. And so I can definitely
I love that movie.
Oh, great movie, but creep the hell out of me, those little kids. To this day, I run. No. I want nothing to do with those kids. They can go away. But you're right, though. I mean, a painting having everybody, because I think that to some extent, no matter who you are, when you look at a painting, you're extending your own energy into that painting, because you're looking at it, you're gazing at it, you're becoming in some ways one with this painting, at least for a moment in time.
Exactly. And you know what? Like, I'm a huge Rembrandt fan. I believe, like, Rembrandt is my idol, and there's not one single piece that I've stood in front of his that does not contain his soul. It just radiates.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like music. Like, you get a lot of, you know, whatever, Britney Spears or whatever you want to talk about. You know, it's so surface.
Yes.
You get anyone, any musician, any dancer, any painter. If you're going the distance, if you're putting in 60 or 70%, it's okay. But when you take anyone in the creative field that puts in everything they've got in energy into a song, into a painting, into a novel, into a movie, you can tell as a human being, we connect with that energy because that person has put everything they've got into that.
Exactly. And you feel the artists, you feel their life force. You really do.
Completely. I mean, you look at the Beatles. I mean, the Beatles were phenomenal. You look at Kurt Cobain. I mean, you know, I saw Nirvana live. I mean, unbelievable energy, just phenomenal. And that's that energy that I like to put in the paintings, you know, and I like to feel it. There's one painting that I've been working on for 2 years now, and I keep hoping to finish it, but I never have enough time. Eventually I will, hopefully for the European leg of the tour, but it's called The Death March, and I was speaking with a woman in Los Angeles who had survived Auschwitz, and she had told me her story, completely moved by it, and talking about the death marches that they had at the end of the death camps when they would walk them, and they'd be in bare feet. And I was doing this painting. I was trying to get the feeling. I couldn't quite get there, and it was December. It was cold, and I decided to go for a walk without shoes. And I was walking, and I was trying to get that feeling, and my feet were numb. I thought I had frostbite. And then I went back in. I'm painting this, and I could feel like I wanted to feel that bone, that cold to the bone feeling, in order to paint that so that that energy is in the painting. So when you stand in front of that painting, you feel that, and that's the essence of what I'm trying to do with the artwork.
You were mentioning Rembrandt.
Yeah.
Talk about epiphany. My parents actually own a Rembrandt.
Are you kidding me?
No.
I'm coming for dinner.
Yeah.
It's a small and apparently relatively obscure one, but nonetheless a Rembrandt. And it's in the hallway. Every time I walk past it, it draws my attention. They have a lot of art. They're very, very much into art. They are rather faithful collectors. Not a ton of high-end stuff. They're not multimillionaires by any means, but very well selected, very well curated. But that one Rembrandt is the one. When I walk down that hallway that has probably a couple dozen paintings, every time that one somehow draws my attention. So I think you're absolutely right about Rembrandt.
I think you're absolutely correct about the whole soul thing, because my wife, in fact, is a painter. Nowhere to your level, but when you look at the paintings that she has done, you can feel a little bit of her just looking at it. I mean, I enjoy feeling a little bit of her anyway, but but what I'm saying is you can actually feel the person, and I know that firsthand. And I'll never forget this. Years ago, I was standing in front of it took up the just this giant wall, and there was a picture of that classic picture of the Auschwitz, where they're standing behind the barbed wire and they're looking, at the person taking the picture.
I know that picture. Yeah.
And I looked at this giant picture, and it was as big as the room. And I'll tell you what, I actually busted into tears, and I'm not afraid to admit it was so emotional. And they had the atmosphere, the noises of Auschwitz, what it would have been like if you were there. Talk about just the pure emotion that pours from these moments in time from art that no other medium can even come close to really presenting.
Yeah, that is so well said. Yeah, I concur 100%.
It's how we connect over space and time.
Yeah, and it always has been, and that's what we need to focus on, for sure.
Yeah.
And get away from some of this other stuff that is leading us, to nowheresville.
And it seems that art,
we need to get back to that core.
And it kind of seems like art is dying a little bit, because I know I have kids that are at home, of course, and they're all in elementary and middle school, and art is not a focus like it once was. They don't really emphasize art anymore like they used to. I remember growing up, art even in high school for me was way more. They really pushed it. There were even art clubs where if you were interested in painting, you could join, or, real art stuff. Now you're lucky to find an art class that's barely an hour long once a week. It's really a travesty.
It is a travesty, because it connects us to each other. I mean, and this is part of I think the problem with our world at the moment is we're not connected. It's us and them. And we lose that connection to humanity. And this is the same as, the Nazis did this with the Jewish people. I mean, what they did was they were less than. They were not human, so we can do this. And when we treat people, whether you're, it's through sexism or, violence or, against women or gays or whatever, homophobia, everything that you're dealing with in such a way where, these people are different. We're not the same, but we are the same.
We are.
Is what it's about. And by creating that distance and lessening that connection, this is why things continue, and that we can people try and get away with stuff like this. And it's appalling. Like, I can't believe that here we are at 2015 and we're still dealing with issues like skin color and sexuality. I mean, are you serious? Are we still dealing with this stuff? Because we should be way beyond this.
I 100% agree. 100% agree. There's no reason.
It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I do think we are, in general, moving forward. I think if you look at the big picture, that big graph, it's a pretty clear line, heading up in the right direction. But it is not a straight line. It is a very halting line, and it's more like a stair step than it is a straight line. And certainly look at the key events of the 20th century. The 20th century is the bloodiest century in human history, and I hope that turns out to be something of an aberration as we move forward. But I think when I stop and think about all the things that you were just mentioning, and that we should be further along, and how can we still have these issues, and how could we miss so badly what the really core issues and core values are? And I think back to something we've only known actually quite recently, and for some reason I just find it so profound that every living human goes back to the same woman about 100,000 years ago. And 100,000 years just isn't that long. Look at geologic history. Look at the history of the Earth, of the universe. I mean, it's just the blink of an eye. We all had the same mother 100,000 years ago. So we really are the same.
We are, exactly. And we're all in the same situation. I mean, we all have the same truth, underneath. Underneath, we're human beings on the planet. We don't really understand what's going on because none of us really knows why we're here, how we got here. We have a bunch of ideas, and we're trying to make sense of it all. We're trying, is this the only reality? Is this the only dimension? We don't know a lot of things, but the core thing is we're all human beings on the planet here. We've got to the top of the food chain. Let's all work together. That's what it's about.
Absolutely, but I think that your art does a lot to has what we call that loud silent statement. It's a statement that we look at. It's a statement that we're forced to look at as human beings. I don't mean forced like you have to look at this painting. It forces us to look inside, like we said earlier in the interview. It forces us to deal with our own thoughts of darkness. It's experiencing just a small, minute little bit of death within a safe, confined environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Very well put.
And and you do a really good job doing it, and people enjoy your art. And now I have to ask you: is any of your art for sale?
Well, all my art is basically for sale. I mean, with the series the Dark and the Wounded series, I mean, if people are interested, they can contact me. There have been some collectors that have purchased pieces already, but it tours. I mean, every piece, and if pieces are purchased, it's with an agreement attached that they continue, as long as it's touring, to continue to each of the venues that it's touring in. But everything I do is for sale, for sure.
I'd be definitely interested in buying a piece of art off you. That would be something cool to have in my bedroom. Make my wife look at once in a while. See, look, you'd be good.
I think of it more as a guest bathroom.
Oh yeah. Put it in the kids' room. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
You be good. Otherwise, you see that?
About how all this fits together in the concentric circles. Back to the beginning of this project, James. Think if the galleries hadn't been so turned off by the nature of this art. The fact that they rejected it is what ultimately brought on, the concept of this whole tour. And like I said, I'm astonished that no one has done this before. And I think this is something that is just going to explode. I think certainly by the time you get that film out, and of course, we're trying to do our little part here to help spread the word, but by the time that film comes out, I think it'll be a sensation.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope so. I think this is very important. I mean, even though everything's for sale, the pieces are for sale. I'm not doing this for financial gain. I look at this as this is like my intervention on the world. Like as an artist and a human being, I hit a point where I look around, I hear this conversation with my friend, what's happened to her, and I look around, I'm seeing all these things that are happening in the world that I inhabit with all of you, and we're all here at the same time. And I hit a point where I just go like, this is depressing. Am I just going to sit here and get depressed, or go into a bubble, or am I going to do something? And this is my way of just leaving a legacy and saying, as a human being on the planet, we can pretty much do anything we want, and it's not all about finances or gain in that way. It's about making a difference, and that lasts way longer than any sort of financial gain you can get.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at someone like, my father, who I was never close with. When he died, I never attended his funeral. No one even wanted his ashes. He was a bit of an asshole, I'm sorry to say. John Lennon dies, the whole world stops. Everyone's, hundreds of thousands of people are standing, worshiping this man who, did his part. And this is all of us. We all have that. We make choices. And those choices, we can choose to do one thing or another. And doing the right thing, sometimes it's more difficult and it's more fearful. But who we can touch and the rewards in the long run outweigh the other way of going, I feel.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. You said fear. Fear drives us to either positive or negative actions. And like we said earlier, once you get past that fear, you get past your own fear, and you can embrace the art and what's to come for what it is. I think we're able to truly see inside of ourselves.
I think so too. And when we look inside, that's how all that healing begins. And when you're feeling healed and whole as a person, all of a sudden, you know what? You're not, waving your finger out the window, screaming at people as you're driving. You don't care if this person is, skin's a different color, or his religion's a different. It's okay because you're whole in yourself and you're okay. It's when we have all this fear attached to everything that it's got to come out somehow, and it comes out in a multitude of ways. I mean, there's violence against women, and we've got homophobia and racism that's occurring all over the place. This is unacceptable stuff, and a lot of it is based on the fact that we're in fear, and we're not addressing that fear. And if we can get past that fear, there's complete freedom in that, and you can live your life on this planet in a very peaceful, settled way.
It's kind of like fear therapy is what it is.
It is, yeah.
Well, we have about 4 minutes left of the show, James. Why don't you tell everyone again how they can get a hold of you, where your tours are, what dates, your websites, and anything else you'd like to get out there?
Okay, well, for the Dark and the Wounded tour, all the information is at darkandwounded.com. We have a Dark and Wounded Facebook page that you can jump on. We have tons of information up there as well. There's a Dark and Wounded YouTube page with a lot of videos of even places that we've been to already, so you can actually get a feel for what this is all about. If people are interested in seeing any of the exhibitions and they can't find any information online right away about European dates that we're setting up, they can always contact me at james@jamespicard.com or go to my website at jamespicard.com, and you can send me an email, and we'll get you caught up in everything. And we're planning, after we do Alcatraz, Preston Castle, and Casa de Rosas in Los Angeles, we're heading to London, Paris, Germany, and France, and a few other places in Europe that we're just settling the contracts for. And we're going to be touring there. And there's some absolutely incredible places to get to. And I really urge people, if they can't make it out, to see the film when it's released, and if they can make it out, it is quite the once-in-a-lifetime experience. And everyone who does attend these, really, it affects them in such a way that they say, I can't believe that, I was fearful to go, or I can't, going really literally changed my life.
That is true. It would change a lot of people's lives if they just let it, if they just go and have that open mind. But I got to ask you, James, do you have any advice for the painter out there, the would-be painter, the guy that's trying to make it out there? Because you've had those doors slammed in your face.
What's my advice for artists? You mean?
Artists that are trying to make it and really have the same message in a lot of ways that you do.
Well, do you know what? Some of the best advice I had was never have a backup plan, because when you have a backup plan and things get tough, you're going to fall to your backup plan. And if you don't have a backup plan, you're going to do whatever it takes to make it. And if you have a message or you have something that you want to do, my advice is to just do it. And, damn the torpedoes in a way. There was times where I've slept at Grand Central Station and had I was homeless for a little bit, but I believed in what I wanted to do, and you just continue, because it's it's worth it. And if you don't go for it, you'll never know. And if you have to give it that 100%, and it's sort of that belief. You have to give it that 100% belief that you're going to do it and you're going to make it. Because if you start giving it 90 or 98, there's still that percentage that's going to drop you back.
Very,
and I
very.
think, whatever you want to do, just go for it.
Very true and very well said. But we're at the end of another show, everybody. And on behalf of myself, Joel Sturgis, and Eric Olson, we would like to thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM. Check us out at afterhoursam.com and as well at america-haunted.com. Until then, guys, take care of each other, love each other, and we're going to be back on Tuesday night. Another Raucous Tuesday show. So take care.
Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.